Hey, everybody. All right. David?
Yeah. David Moore, Dallas Morning
Hey,
News. Just Turpin in his first regular season game, how you felt he did, and because of where he is, do you give him some latitude to return when he's deep in the end zone like that?
Yeah, I thought he made really good decisions. The ones he brought out, we were great with on the kickoff return part of it, and got a lot of young guys out there. And there's two phases that just take a long time to really gel, and it's kick return because there's a lot of wide open space, moving pieces, and then punt. And I think on our kickoff return, I got away one time from our bread and butter, and I think that cost us. It was one with 14 seconds left, trying to boom or bust type thing. But he's a great decision maker. I think his ball security is outstanding, and we're just, got a lot of young guys out there running around, and we just got to keep tightening them up. And there's no better reps, like we talked about this morning in the meeting, than live game reps. So for us to get 4 chances on kick return is really good for us in the future, understanding the speed, how to collide, how to finish, all the real simple things coming out of my mouth, but really hard things to actually do.
Michael Gilligan, Dallas Morning News. 7 rookies on that kickoff return team.
Yep.
Rico's not one of them, but he's coming off a pretty long absence. And so how do you feel he's kind of getting back into the swing of things in that particular phase?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michael. Rico missed, all last year, and he missed a couple weeks of training camp this year too. So to me, he's kind of like a rookie all over again. But Rico's going to be really good. He's going to be really good. I mean, he's tough, he's strong, he's kind of built like a Tony Pollard for a special teams guy who's a 4-phase guy for us. And you nailed it. We got 7 rookies starting on all phases of special teams. So part of it is growing pains, but like I told you, I think last week, I love it. I mean, our potential with a lot of those young guys, it was Harp, Hendershot, Ferguson, Houston, Sam Williams, Deron Bland, kind of throw Turpin in there, throw Rico again in there. Those were our boys yesterday, which is great practice for us. So I don't think we're as good as we're going to be in the next month and 2 and 3 and 4. So I got a lot of good things to look forward to, and we had a great meeting this morning. So.
Todd Archer, the ESPN, using the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game as a backdrop. Who's your backup deep snapper?
I was asked that question in pregame, and I didn't want to divulge it because it might be a little guy that might get smashed in there. It might be a big guy that can't run, and so that's something that we're always conscious of. Who's our backup kicker, our backup holder, our backup snapper, our backup returner, backup left tackle on punt, backup right guard on kick return. So it's a great question, and I'd probably stay away from that for potential competitive purposes, but I could divulge it.
Timeout if you throw Turpin in there as a deep snapper or something?
No. That is, I can tell you that won't happen. But I will say this, and not that he's the guy, but one of the best snappers is CeeDee Lamb. But he's not the guy. Maybe he is, but maybe he's not. That's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
All those lines. Do you know an opponent's backup long snapper? It just seems like such a remote situation to prepare for as part of your game plan. So is there really a competitive advantage to that?
There is, yeah. That's a great call. Because a couple of years ago we played Minnesota, and the snapper broke his finger or something, and I wasn't certain who they put in. And they put in a tight end who did a pretty good job. 4 years ago, the Raiders in the opening game had a guy that their snapper tore his ACL covering a punt. So a lot of times I don't know, and it is, I think, a competitive advantage to not have an opponent know.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. You mentioned the 4 kickoff returns. Were you surprised you got that many after what happened in the preseason and the sort of trying to keep him away from the return thing?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was an intent to put the ball in play by Tampa. They had a nice lineup out there. They had some big veteran bodies. I mean, they had Britt, who's a good player, Keanu Neal out there, Murphy Bunning out there, D. Delaney. They had a nice squad. I mean, they're 2 starting corners for their safeties, so I think they came in prepared to potentially have to cover. So it was, I hate to say it because the game counted, but it was great. It was great practice for our guys to get out there and flying bullets, a couple twist games. It's a lot happening. But I was surprised we had that many opportunities to have the ball in play.
John Machota, The Athletic. Are you guys trying to get that punt as close as you can to the big screen? And I don't know if it's you guys or opponents, but obviously other teams don't have that in their building, and it just seems like it might cause some difficulty. So are you trying to get that ball as close as to it without hitting it on those punts? Because obviously if it hits it, you just do the punt over again. I mean, can you use that to your advantage, I guess?
Yeah, not for us, for one reason. If we punt it and hit the scoreboard, we got to reload a punt, and that's tiring for those bodies. Now it is for the punt return team too, and it was the second time I can remember that you had a back-to-back-to-back. The first one, he hit the scoreboard. The second one, we ran into the punter. And then the third one was a live ball in play. So those guys were tired. I mean, there was quite a few of us, I'm sure quite a few of them that went straight for the oxygen. So I don't think there's a strategic advantage for the punt team to hit the scoreboard on purpose, because it's just a do-over play and you got tired bodies that got to cover again, unless you want to see maybe a potential rush. But
I just didn't know if maybe it's difficult to, not to hit it, but to get as close as you get to it, maybe it throws off the returner.
Oh,
if
the
they're not
catch.
Seeing, yeah, the catch on.
Yeah, ever since they put that black tarp right underneath it, it's a pretty, not a simple catch, but it's not a difficult catch to have it close to it and not hit it.
Yeah, Ryan Switzer that used to play here, he tweeted something about like it is kind of difficult to kind of gauge it, I guess, because I didn't know if it's something that you guys.
Yeah, I think maybe before they put that black tarp underneath it, where it was just bars and maybe some lights, it was. But I haven't experienced a problem with CD or so far this year Terp. You know, in pregame warm-ups, catching a ball, getting up next to that tarp.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News.
Yeah.
On that punt, did you see it right away? Did it hit, or were you weren't sure and had to wait for the officials to tell you it hit?
I wasn't even watching once he punted it, because I was watching our core pieces inside it, because we had a rush on the first time. So I was looking at a couple strategic pieces to see what was happening. And so when I turned back and looked, the ball was kind of close to the ground and bouncing around. I thought he just mishit it. Then all of a sudden the play died, and I wasn't really sure what happened, because I didn't know it hit the tarp. But then once it was a re-punt, then I knew that it had hit it. But I wasn't watching that until the action cleared in the core.
I assume you knew the rule, but since you have so many young guys, did they know the rule that hits the board that it's a re-kick?
The rookies, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I cover that with them. I know our veteran guys do, because we hit the scoreboard in the playoff game last year. But now they do, but I don't know if they did, yeah.
Tori Epstein, USA Today. You talked about getting away from your bread and butter on one play yesterday. You also know that the Bengals have a change in their snapping operation. How do you balance maybe trying to exploit something that they haven't had as long to work on while also not getting away from that bread and butter?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now, is staying true to our core, but also there's a huge piece that just changed for them, because in the offseason you do a lot of off-season studies on personnel that you anticipate coming back, like a snapper and their punter, and you kind of have a spring training camp and then a little bit of a pre-plan going in, so it's not a totally fresh opponent on Monday. And then all of a sudden it changes, and so it's a great question. I probably don't have a great answer right now because the plan isn't even close to fruition. But that's a great point. How do we stick true to our, that's going to be my Wednesday morning meeting. Hey, fellas, how are we going to stick true to our core beliefs, but we also got a different, look at what we maybe need to look at exploiting. So I got a lot of work to do in the next 48 hours before they come back in Wednesday morning.
I guess even if not answering how you'll choose to do it this week, in your quite a bit of time doing this in the league, have you trended more toward one or the other in a situation like that?
Yep. And I always come back to saying, I wish if I got away from it, I wish I would have just stuck with our bread and butter. Even if they know it's coming. Let's say we have a kickoff return, we got our bread and butter, and you get away from it, you just haven't practiced to get away from it as much as your bread and butter, so it's a boom or bust. And even if you run your bread and butter, and even if they know it's coming, you still feel good about it. So over my career, anytime I've kind of leaked away, whether it's one call or a whole game plan from it, you always come back to it. And so I just got to keep reminding myself to not veer too far from what I think we do best. But there are game plan opportunities sometimes for exploiting whatever it might be.
Luke Gifford, last year was a bread and butter special teams player for you. again
Yep.
last night, barely left the field. What makes him such a utility guy for you on every single phase, every single opportunity?
Yeah, he's very athletic, super versatile. His first couple of years in the league, he went through a lot of adversity. You know, he was injured in 2019, the year before I got here. I was with LA and we played against him, and I think he broke his arm in training camp or hamstring in training camp. So, anyways, he's been hardened through a lot of adversity. He was inactive the first game last year and a couple games the year before. So, he's just tough. He knows his role. That's a huge part of it. He can run. He's got great technique. He's a great mentor for a couple of our young guys that goes really unnoticed. And so there's a huge respect level for him in our meeting room. I could keep going on, but it's a great mix of tangibles and intangibles with Giff, and I think he's got a great future. You know, he's just getting started, really, because of some time he's missed, whether it's injuries or deactivations.
Okay. Thank you much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, you guys.